The sun's shining, the birds are tweeting, the clocks have gone forward and the tax year's ended. For me, this time of year represents one thing, and that is planning for the next 12 months. So join me as I prepare my astrophotography setup. My name's Matt, and this is Everyday Astro. This is my main imaging rig for the next 12 months. One of the keys for me this year is I'm going into mono imaging. If you haven't seen my videos about my new QHY 268M camera, I will put some links at the top so that you can follow that and you can follow my journey as I try to understand this weird world of mono. However, for the rest of the kit, I've had some of it a while now, but this is how it's going to stay for the next 12 months. The first bit being it rides on a Skywatcher EQ6R Pro mount. I have an awful lot of time for this mount, and it's a very popular mount within astrophotography. It has a 20 kilo astrophotography payload as well, slightly more if you are ever inclined to do visual, but I never have, so I can't say that bothers me too much. My gear doesn't get anywhere close to 20 kilos. I'm probably lucky if I'm hitting 10 kilos with that. So, you know, there is plenty of capacity and scope for me to move forward with this hobby. If I want to get bigger telescopes and things like that, this mount will happily take me into that future. It's also incredibly quiet. There is nothing worse than at 3 o'clock in the morning, you waking your neighbours up as you slew your telescope to a new target. It doesn't make you or your hobby popular. So again, that quiet operation is a really key thing for me as well. The scope that I'm using is an Explore Scientific ED102 carbon fibre. If you're wondering why carbon fibre makes a difference, it's all about temperatures and having to refocus. I'm very lazy and I like to do things in the easiest way possible. It's why this is very everyday. But the carbon fibre reacts less to reducing temperatures. So for example, if you have an aluminium tube, as the temperature cools, your telescope contracts ever so slightly, which changes the focus point of your telescope. So at regular points through the night, you need to refocus or be prepared to throw away a lot of images the next day. With the carbon fibre, it doesn't tend to be affected in the same way. So you won't have to focus as often, which means you have more time for imaging. And also, even if it does, it takes a lot longer to reach that point. So ultimately, if you can get a carbon fibre body, I highly recommend them. They're also lighter. This scope is only something along the lines of 3 kilos in total, without obviously the camera and focuser and things. So it is a very light piece of equipment. Also means you can bolt more to it. It puts less pressure on the mount because there's less weight, which means you should get better tracking and guiding. So all of those things do come into play. The scope itself has a 102mm aperture and has a focal length of 714mm, which puts it at f7. This year I'm going to be using it at its native focal length. I do have a William Optics 0.8 reducer, but this year I'm not using that. I'm simply going to be using it at the full 714, and I have the Explore Scientific field flattener that goes with it, but it's not a reducer. That also means I can more easily adjust the angle of my camera as well. So if I want to rotate the camera, that is far easier than if it was screwed, the camera was screwed directly to the body. So that definitely makes my life a little bit easier. Because I'm lazy, I also have a ZWO electronic automatic focuser. So this automatically focuses the telescope for me using an algorithm within Nina that does that. Again, I'm pretty lazy. I don't like using Bassanov masks, and I certainly don't like having to get out of bed to go outside and refocus partway through a night. So within Nina, I set up to refocus at certain points when I want it to refocus, and this little red box does all of that for me. You know, it is a very simple way of making sure that you don't have to stay outside and freeze to death on these cold winter nights. Most of my operation here I can actually run from my sofa. So pretty much from when I've put it outside and polar aligned it, all I have to do from that point is take out the lens caps, and suddenly I can go and sit back down, watch EastEnders and stay warm, or whatever else I want to do. The camera, as I've already mentioned, this year I'm moving to the QHY 268M as a mono camera, and the QHY filter wheel as well. So I will have the luminance red, green, blue, the sulfur 2, hydrogen alpha and oxygen 3 filters. So I will have a combination of true colour and false colour in the narrow band with the SHO palette that's made famous by Hubble. I am very much looking forward to experimenting with this. I'm also hoping this year to do a bit more work on galaxies. It's something I've never really done in the past, certainly never put too much effort into it, but I'm hoping the RGB filters and doing some work on galaxies could really change that for me. So I'm going to see how this year goes. My guide scope is a RVO Horizon. It's a 50mm guide scope with a focal length of 214mm, and on the end of that I have the classic ZWO ASI 120 AM guide scope camera. It's a fantastic little guide scope camera, and I'm really pleased with how that one works. My newest bit of equipment, and the one I'm really excited about today, is this tiny little blue box that you can see in here. This is the Pegasus Powerbox Advance. This is quite simply a little box that plugs everything into it. So I have attached that to my scope using the classic Velcro method, which works for me every time. Velcro saves the day on more occasions than one. And into this it has a USB hub. It manages the power for 2 dew heaters. It also can do a variable power output. It also has a temperature and humidity sensor that goes with it, but ultimately it just controls all of your cables into one place. So from this I am powering my camera, I am powering the mount, I am powering the 2 dew heater bands, and I'm powering the EAF as well. And then again, the USB cables go directly from the Pegasus box to the various parts, which means that I don't have cables trailing all over the place. Cables that come away from your rig cause drag. That can affect your guiding, so the more you can keep contained into this, the better. And that's exactly what this little box has done for me. I think it's basically witchcraft with how good it's made my cable management, so I'm really pleased with that. It does also mean my setup and takedown is going to be a lot quicker as well, because all I have to do is unplug one cable that goes to the PC, unplug the power cable, and I can just take the whole thing off and put it away for the night. Or obviously coming out, it connects very quickly. So I think that's going to be a bit of a game changer in my speed at which I can actually get things set up. My other bit of automation that I do like to use is my QHY Polemaster. It's a really good bit of kit if you can't be bothered to get on your hands and knees and look up through a polar scope. Nothing worse in my view than crawling around on a cold wet floor in the middle of winter trying to spot a star through a tiny little hole. So for me this really does make a difference, and I really do enjoy using it. The other thing I'm doing this year is I'm going to be running a second rig, because I have the Nevada PS08 power unit. I have now got 2 connections into that, which means I can run a second rig, and my aim is going to be to have a colour camera on that one. So if you allow me to get that set up quickly, I'll show you what that rig's going to look like. My second rig is far simpler. It's much smaller, it's far more compact, and it's actually portable as well if I want it to be. The mount is the Skywatcher EQ3 Pro. I cannot speak highly enough of this mount. I think it is absolutely fantastic. For anyone who is thinking of getting the Star Adventurer or anything along those lines, I would honestly suggest you reconsider. My recommendation would always be this EQ3 mount over that. A few key reasons for that. One, this moves in both right ascension and declination, so it does make that a little bit easier. But the key difference for me is that this one is a go-to mount. So it also comes with a hand controller and is able, with a star alignment routine, to find things in the sky for you that the Star Adventurer simply can't. I have found that to be quite frustrating in the past. If you're not sure exactly where something is, the amount of time it can take you to actually find your target before you even start imaging can be very frustrating, and if you're new to the hobby that can be incredibly disheartening. So this, with its go-to function, will provide you with a much better service. It is about, I think it's about £50 more than the Star Adventurer, but bear in mind that also comes with the tripod as well. So I think the Star Adventurer doesn't come with that, so you need to buy that separately. So all in, I think these come into roughly the same cost. This is also not much bigger than the Star Adventurer, so this is easily portable. I actually very often use this unguided as well, especially with a short focal length scope like this one, and I've been amazed at how well it actually tracks the night sky without the guiding there. So honestly, if you are thinking of entering the hobby and people are recommending that Star Adventurer, I get why they do that. But I would honestly do your research on this, see what you can find, because I think this will serve you much better and save you a whole lot of frustration in the long run. My scope on this is my favourite little scope. It's the William Optics Space Cat. It's identical to the William Optics Red Cat, bar, say the red cat is red and the space cat is space grey. Other than that, they are identical. It has a 250mm focal length at f4.9. It is a fast little scope and it produces these wonderful wide field images. This year in particular, I'm looking at trying to get the North America and Pelican Nebula in one photo, for example. That's something I've done in the past and want to see if I can do that again and recreate those, especially now I've moved on from a DSLR. I want to see what the difference in quality of image I can actually get. So I'm very much looking forward to that as Cygnus starts rising again over the next couple of months. That's something I'm really going to make sure I'm imaging. And I've also moved my ZWO ASI 294 MC Pro onto this as well. So whereas previously it was used with a DSLR, it now has a dedicated cooled camera. I think that's really going to up my game in these images as well. The Space Cat is a Petzval design, which means basically it produces flat images right to the corners. You don't need field flatness or any other things like that. And short focal lengths are again incredibly forgiving. If you are new to the hobby, I always recommend short focal length telescopes. You can get a whole load of things wrong and you'll still have good images at the end of it. Even when you've been doing it a number of years, these still produce some wonderful images. As I said, I plan on using that all year this year. I've also got the William Optic guide scope that goes with it, and again the ZWO ASI 120mm camera. And this one is going to be powered by the Lynx Astro dew heater controller. This is a great piece of kit, so this will control up to 4 dew heaters and also comes with 2 power ports with it. And you can also buy a splitter cable that goes in so that you can power an extra item as well should you wish to or need to. This one also comes with a DSLR power port as well. So if you're using a DSLR and you're finding your batteries running out halfway through the night, Lampart makes some fantastic dummy batteries for DSLR cameras. So you quite literally plug the dummy camera into your DSLR, the cable into this, and you have power until you turn your socket off. So it is a really useful piece of kit, that one, for powering these small rigs. And again, it is powered by a 12 volt cigarette lighter style plug, and I do have a Skywatcher battery as well, which I take when I'm using this out in the field. So if I do want to be mobile, I just take that battery pack with me, and that tends to give me somewhere around 6 hours worth of imaging time when it's powering the mount, the camera and everything else. So it does produce a half decent amount of time. So that's everything I'm going to be using this year. I'm really excited about the upcoming 12 months. I don't know why I've always fallen into April to change everything, but that generally is when I've tried to reset my gear and see what I can do for the upcoming year. I'm really looking forward to showing you the images as they come along. I'll try and make as many videos as I can, especially as I'm learning how to do the mono image capture and processing side of it. So I'm hoping I'm going to be able to show you many more of those images as we go forward. I'd also love to know what gear you're using as well. What are your plans for the upcoming 12 months? So do try and leave me some comments below. I hope you found this video useful, and if you did, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. I'm really excited about sharing everything I'm going to be doing this year with you, and I'm really hoping you can share what you're doing with me, so please do leave comments below, or you can find me on Twitter at AstromatUK. So now there's nothing else for me to do but to wish you many clear, moonless nights this year, and I'll see you again soon. Clear skies.